Being home alone can be unsettling for many, especially when the silence of an empty house is broken by unexplained noises or eerie occurrences. True stories of such encounters make us question the safety of our own homes. Today we dive into 3 terrifying accounts of people who faced the unknown while alone in their own houses. Sit back, turn off the lights, and prepare for these spine-chilling tales. Story 1. The Uninvited Guest. Lily was a university student living in a small, rented house just off campus. It was exam season, and she had decided to stay back and study while her roommates went home for the weekend. The first night alone was peaceful, allowing her to focus on her studies. But things took a dark turn the following night. It started with small noises, scratches, taps, and the occasional creak. At first, she dismissed them as the usual sounds of an old house settling. But as the night wore on, the noises grew more frequent and more distinct. Around midnight, Lily heard what sounded like footsteps in the hallway. She froze, listening intently. The footsteps stopped right outside her bedroom door. Summoning her courage, she tiptoed to the door and flung it open, only to find an empty hallway. She laughed nervously at herself, thinking it was just her imagination running wild. She decided to make some tea to calm her nerves and headed downstairs to the kitchen. As she waited for the water to boil, she noticed the back door was slightly ajar. She was certain she had locked it earlier. She cautiously approached the door and peeked outside, seeing nothing but darkness. She shut and locked the door, double-checking it this time. Returning to her room, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She decided to call it a night and try to get some sleep. Just as she was about to drift off, she heard a loud crash from downstairs. Her heart pounded as she crept down the stairs, gripping her phone tightly in case she needed to call for help. In the kitchen, she found the source of the noise. A chair had been knocked over, and the back door was wide open again. Fear gripped her as she realized someone had to be inside the house. She quickly ran back upstairs, locking herself in her room and calling the police. The wait for the police felt like an eternity. When they finally arrived, they searched the house thoroughly but found no one. They told her it was likely a break-in attempt and that she had scared the intruder away. Lily couldn't shake the feeling that whoever had been in her house was still watching her. She never stayed home alone again, always ensuring someone was with her. The experience left her with a lingering sense of vulnerability and fear, a reminder that sometimes even our safest spaces can be invaded by the unknown. Story 2. The Whispering Shadows. Tom had just moved into a new apartment in the city. It was a cozy place, perfect for starting his new job. The first few weeks were uneventful, and Tom quickly settled into his routine. One Friday night, he decided to unwind with a movie marathon. As the hours passed, he noticed a strange, cold draft sweeping through his living room, despite all the windows being closed. He brushed it off and continued watching his movie. Around midnight, he heard a faint whispering coming from the hallway. Tom paused the movie, straining to hear the sound again. The whispering continued, soft and unintelligible, as if someone was having a hushed conversation. Curiosity got the better of him, and he slowly walked towards the hallway. The closer he got, the clearer the whispers became. It sounded like multiple voices overlapping, yet he couldn't make out any words. A chill ran down his spine as he reached the end of the hallway, where a large mirror hung on the wall. Tom's reflection stared back at him, but something was off. The room behind him and the reflection seemed darker, and shadows flitted across the surface of the mirror, moving independently of any light source. He blinked and rubbed his eyes, thinking it was just his imagination. When he looked again, the shadows were gone, but the whispers continued, louder now. Fear gripped him as he backed away, retreating to the safety of his living room. He decided to sleep with the lights on that night, hoping to ward off whatever was lurking in the shadows. The next day, Tom researched the history of his apartment building. He discovered that several tenants had reported strange occurrences, including whispers, cold drafts, and shadowy figures. Some even claimed the building was haunted by spirits from a fire that had killed several residents decades ago. Armed with this knowledge, Tom contacted a local paranormal investigator who agreed to visit his apartment. The investigator performed a cleansing ritual, assuring Tom that the spirits would be at peace. For a while, things seemed to return to normal. However, late one night, Tom was jolted awake by the familiar sound of whispering. He cautiously approached the hallway mirror again, and this time the reflection showed a shadowy figure standing directly behind him, its hand reaching out to touch his shoulder. Tom spun around, but there was no one there. The whispers stopped, leaving an eerie silence in their wake. Terrified, Tom moved out of the apartment the next day, leaving the haunted whispers and shadows behind. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, and the experience haunted him for years to come. Story 3. The Haunting of Elm Street. Sarah had always loved her quaint house on Elm Street. It was the perfect place to raise her young son, Max, with its spacious rooms and a big backyard for him to play in. Her husband often worked late, leaving Sarah and Max home alone in the evenings. One stormy night, after putting Max to bed, Sarah settled in the living room with a good book. The rain lashed against the windows, and thunder rumbled in the distance. The power flickered but stayed on. As she read, she heard the faint sound of footsteps upstairs. Assuming it was Max getting out of bed, she went to check on him. In the hallway, she saw that the door to the guest bedroom was ajar. Slowly, she pushed it open, shining the flashlight into the room. It was empty, but the air felt heavy and cold. She checked the closet and under the bed, finding nothing unusual. As she turned to leave, she heard a faint whisper.
"Help me!"
Sarah's blood ran cold. She rushed back to her room, locking the door behind her. She tried to rationalize the noise, blaming it on the storm and her imagination. Just as she began to calm down, a loud bang echoed from downstairs. She listened intently, hearing more footsteps, now coming up the stairs. She dialed her husband's number with shaking hands, but the call wouldn't go through. The power flickered again, and the house plunged into darkness. Sarah clutched Max's baby monitor, praying for the power to return. The footsteps stopped outside her bedroom door, followed by a soft knock.
"Mommy?"
Max's voice called out from the hallway. Relief washed over her as she opened the door, but her heart sank when she saw an empty hallway. Panic surged through her as she realized that the voice had not been Max's. She quickly closed and barricaded the door with a chair, her hands trembling. She held the baby monitor close, watching the live feed of Max's room on the screen. Max was still sound asleep in his bed, completely unaware of the terrifying events unfolding. The minutes felt like hours as she waited for the storm to pass. The room was filled with an oppressive silence, punctuated only by the occasional creak of the house settling. Every noise made her jump, her imagination running wild with fear. Finally, the power returned and the footsteps ceased. The next morning, Sarah found muddy footprints leading from the front door, up the stairs and stopping outside her bedroom. She felt a chill as she realized they matched the size of a child's feet. She called the police, who found no signs of forced entry. They assured her it was probably just a prank. But Sarah knew better. She never spent another night alone in that house, haunted by the memory of those footsteps and the whispered plea for help. If you enjoyed these spine-chilling tales of being home alone, subscribe to Supernatural Secrets for more hair-raising stories and paranormal encounters. Don't forget to like, comment, and hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest content. Sleep tight, and remember, you never know what might be lurking in the shadows. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay curious, and may the mysteries of the supernatural continue to captivate your imagination. This is Supernatural Secrets signing off.